Welcome back, Tam Fam. Today we are meeting people who have restarted their lives in really remarkable ways, like my next guest, Deirdre Fagan. For over a decade, she was living the life of her dreams. She was a college professor and married to the love of her life with two beautiful children. They had it all, and their future was filled, they felt, with promise. But then one day in 2011, the life they envisioned together came crashing down due to a blindsiding medical diagnosis, sending their lives on a path beyond what they ever imagined and taking their love deeper than they ever knew possible. Take a look.
When Bob and I were first dating and I was falling in love with him so fast, I kept looking for the thing that would end our relationship. And so I searched and I couldn't find the thing. And I never did find a thing. Over the next 10 years, Bob and I had two amazing kids. We were just blissfully happy. Bob noticed the twitch in his arm and we went to a specialist and Bob got diagnosed with ALS. It is a terminal diagnosis. You lose function of any muscle you can control. I was devastated. My mind was going a mile a minute trying to figure out how this could at all be possible. We both cried a lot, and less than 24 hours after his diagnosis, he told me he wanted me to love again. I said, "Don't say that. I don't want to talk about that." And he said, "Okay, but just know I want you to love again." It took us some months for me to get on board. Bob said, "Your love for me has nothing to do with when I'm not here. It is not being loyal to me to never love again. You can love me and love someone else."
Wow. Well, Bob passed away 10 months after his diagnosis, and Deirdre was determined to honor his wish that she continue to live her life fully, but without him. She details her remarkable restart and journey in her new memoir, Find a Place for Me. Critics are calling the book lyrical, raw, unflinching, and a powerful testimony to love and the strength of human spirit. Tam Fam, please welcome Deirdre Fagan to the show. Thank you for being here. Thank you. I have the book here, and I was struck by so many, obviously, the entire story. But when you talked about going home after learning of the diagnosis, you wrote, "We needed to check out, drive home, unpack the car, feed the children and ourselves, and generally go on living. I didn't know how I would. Bob desperately wanted to live, but I desperately wanted to die." How do you describe it?
It was so overwhelming that I think we just sunk into that for those first 10 days, 2 weeks. It was just wrapping our heads around it.
I mean, for perspective, you at the time, you were 42. Two kids, Liam was 8, and Maeve, who was just 3 years old. And you, a mom, The Rock, you felt the feeling of wanting to die.
Absolutely. I had lost the last of my birth family members when I was 36. So I'd lost both my parents, both of my siblings, and this was 5 years later. So we had just felt like we'd gotten our feet back when this diagnosis came.
Over that time that you were preparing, honestly, and that's what you were doing. You and Bob opened your doors to friends and family during that time who offered support. One of the friends started to come by and really become a part of the family in so many ways, right?
Yeah, Dave taught at my university, and he was a kind of a several circles out friend.
He was your coworker.
He was my coworker, but we would only see him at somebody else's house, or we'd throw one big party a year and he would drop by for that one. But we had never spent time, just the three of us, ever. But then he started dropping by because he happened to take a bike ride down our street. Everybody knew that Bob was sick. He saw our son outside one day and said, "Are your parents home?" And he just wanted to come in and say, "How are you doing?" And that was about 4 months into the diagnosis that
4
he
months
stopped
in.
by.
And Bob, your husband, notices something in Dave, you think?
That took time. I would say he dropped by the first time around March or April, and then sometime over the summer, we'd gotten closer, the three of us, from these drop-bys. And I would say it was maybe late summer when Bob noticed something about Dave and his connection to me and our conversations together.
Coming up, Deirdre's husband, Bob, saw something that felt like family, you might say. Deirdre and her coworker, Dave, had a special bond. But what did Deirdre think? And did Dave have any idea that Bob was trying to make a love connection for his wife? We'll get those answers after the break. Welcome back, Tam Fam. One of the things I know for sure is that life comes in chapters, and when they aren't what we envision, how do we rewrite the direction they're going in, especially when you're feeling so vulnerable? My guest that we're speaking with right now, Deirdre Fagan, is back with us sharing how she moved forward when her life changed forever following the death of her husband, Bob, a devastating death after an ALS diagnosis. Deirdre, you were saying before the break, here you were, Bob wanting to live, you wanting to die, because this is a weight, this is a fear. I say vulnerability, that word is putting it mildly. But during the course of the goodbye, he wanted you to say hello, if you will, to someone in y'all's life, which was a coworker, Dave. What do you think, what was it about Dave?
It started with Bob saying, I was getting him ready for bed one night, and he just turned and he said, "You and Dave can really talk." And he winked at me. And I thought, yeah, I said yes, because I knew what he was playful with that wink. And I said, "Are you saying I should hit on Dave as a joke?"
Right.
Because we joked like that. And he said, "I'm just saying you two can really talk, and we both know a marriage is a long conversation."
I'm curious, so was Dave aware that Bob, he had no idea?
No, there's no way he had any idea. This was a little joke, and it came up pretty late, close to when Bob was dying, that he mentioned Dave. And really, how could you know that Dave would be a person for me? There's no way to know.
Yeah.
I mean, but he was saying, look around, pay attention, and hey, you might want to also pay attention to this person. He's really stepped up for us.
Wow. Well, you took Bob's advice. You paid attention to Dave. Dave bonded with your children, and you tied the knot with Dave.
I did.
Tam Fam, we've talked a lot about Dave. Let's bring him on out. Please welcome Deirdre's husband, Dave Robinson. How does it feel to be backstage and hear people talking about you and your life like this?
Oh, it's a little strange.
It's a little strange, right? It's an incredible story, Dave. When you learned that Bob really saw you as a potential life partner for Deirdre, what was that like? How was that like to process?
Oh, it was such a surprise. It was not. I had no idea this was going on at all. I had no idea. Deirdre had considered that.
When did it cross your mind?
That this was. Well, Deirdre told me that this happened. Yeah.
Well, after she told you it would happen, you had
Yes.
to, a light bulb moment had to go off in your mind too, at some point, no?
That went off before that. Yeah.
Oh, it did? Okay. So before that, you felt a connection?
Yes. After Bob had died, we could both tell that there was something, and yeah.
I know that when Bob died, your son thought that Dave should be there because he was a part of the family.
Yeah, Bob was taking his last breaths. I mean, we knew we were on a death watch, and my son Liam looked at me and he said, "Should we call Dave?" Dave, by that point, by Bob's request, had become the #1 person on the hospice call list beyond me. And so the kids knew how important he had become. And I said, "Do you want him to be here?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Then you can call him."
Dave, to step in, right? No one can replace someone else. All you can do is be a part of their journey and love forward, as Deirdre said. What was that, and what has that been like for you? It's these little darlings here.
Yes, they are. Well, it's, I tell people that I don't think of myself as their stepdad. I think of myself as their dad, and I think they look at me that way too, not as a stepdad. So we now have a family, and that's been wonderful.
We always say they've had two dads. There's Bob Dad and Dave Dad. Because, you know, stepdad for me is is when there's another dad still present, you know. But
we talk about restart. You both were restarting in so many ways. You're restarting as a parent of two suddenly, and you're restarting as a new wife, as a new version of yourself. It's remarkable. I know that, and this is something I did struggle with, I have to tell you. Bob left a message, his last wish, if you will. I made a video for you to watch after he was gone. And you've been so gracious to let us share this message. Take a look.
You're gonna have to move on. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't want you to do that. I want you to find somebody else and have somebody else in your life. A person like you. A person like you doesn't, a person like you has so much to give. You made my life. You made my life come alive.
You are so inspiring. I've been a journalist for 30-something years. I've never had anyone share something like that, ever. Why do you want people to know this story, to hear him in his own intimate words, and what that means when you're trying to restart?
People always said that Bob taught them how to live well. And then when he was dying, they later said he also taught them how to die well. And I think we could all learn better both of those things. And I hope that when my time comes, that I can be as graceful and loving as Bob was, because it's really about the people that are left behind and helping them to continue to live in your absence. And he gave me the greatest gift.
Deirdre, you are remarkable, and I know you will inspire so many people watching right now who are looking at restarting and asking, how can I? And you're living proof of how you can love forward. Thank you so much, Deirdre. Dave, you're a solid guy. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Deirdre's book, Find a Place for Me, Embracing Love and Life in the Face of Death, is available now. And everyone in the TamFam audience, you're going home with a copy of this beautiful book. Beautiful, beautiful story. Thank you so much.